Good evening. This is Omnibus Roundtable Television Show, and I'm your host, Wanda Carter. This evening, I have two guests, Mr. Robert Oliver and Mr. Anthony Travis. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
All
you for having
right.
me here, Wanda.
I'm so glad that you're both able to join me. You were both able to join me. We're going to talk this evening about the Electoral College and the impact it has on our capacity to elect a president and a vice president. As I understand it, the Electoral College, those electors elect the president and the vice president. They are not elected by the populist vote. Is that true, Robert?
That's
Okay.
That's true.
All right. And so it says the Electoral College was founded by the U.S. government. The Constitution, which forms every 4 years for the sole purpose of electing the president and vice president. Every 4 years, that's when they come together. Now, the Electoral College, in simple terms, they said this is used to describe the 538 presidential electors who come together to vote for the president. And what I found unique was they say that the electors, when we cast the popular vote, when we vote, that our vote is supposed to be the electors are supposed to consider our vote and then vote for the constituents, for the president or the vice president. What say you? Anybody?
Well, going back to 1777, there was a great compromise because the little states thought that if they didn't have this set up, all you need, and I remember in school taking the class in the presidency, that all you need is 11 key states to win the 270 electoral votes that you need to win the presidency.
You only need 11 key states?
11 key states.
I saw that somewhere.
Those big old states like
wow.
Texas and California and Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. You win those states, you don't want an electoral college. Florida. Okay.
Because they got more electors in those states. California, New York. They have more. Florida, they have more electors. I think Illinois only has 20 electors.
But the founding fathers, the aristocrats, the men, the white men who own land, that was their way of keeping control, keeping power.
Yeah.
And so now,
how so?
Well, by making sure that even if you went out and voted, they controlled the electoral college.
How so? How so?
Because
yes,
the electoral college, those folks are elected. When we go and vote, like I voted 2 days ago. So somewhere in my voting, an electoral person got elected, or they can be appointed by the various states. So you have two situations at hand how they become electoral. But
I've always wanted to know that, how I've never quite understood how it is that we get the electors.
Yeah, by when we go and vote in some states. Some states.
It says in all the states that they're supposed to vote what the whatever the populist votes, whoever they are leaning towards, that's who the electors are supposed to vote for.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that.
They don't.
No, they don't.
I don't think they do all the time because
Well, they don't. Yeah. After 200 some years of this madness. Now, that's why a lot of people say it's time to do away with the electoral college.
what do you say, Robert?
Well, here's what I say. I say that the electoral college would be mute or moot in the situation of if if the United States, the whole United States, was just like Singapore, which is not only a city, it's basically its own it's its own country. And also too, just like in the city of Chicago, the mayoral elections are non-partisan.
Nonpartisan.
Non-partisan, yes, in the
Hi,
city of
Odie.
Chicago, their elections.
Okay.
So therefore, there would not be a concern of partisanship.
Okay.
Like I said, there is L.A. County. Well, I live in San Diego,
Okay.
and Los Angeles is 2 hours north of me. Los Angeles County, the population of Los Angeles County is actually bigger than 43 states.
Wow.
And Los Angeles County is top heavy with Democrats, just like Chicago is top heavy with Democrats, just like the New York City metropolitan area is top heavy with Democrats, because we have that situation. There is a danger of basically the tail wagging the dog.
And what do you mean by that? What do you mean by the tail wagging the dog?
Well, what I'm saying is that a few major population areas would basically be able to dictate the politics to the rest of the nation, like in Nebraska or in Wisconsin or in Texas or in Georgia or in Colorado.
So that's why we have the Electoral College to level the playing field.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. Like I said, if there was no partisanship whatsoever, no political parties whatsoever, no special interests whatsoever, then that would work. Then that would work. The popular vote would work. But since we don't have that, then we need another mechanism, as you said, to level the playing field.
Yeah.
What do you say, Odie? How are you? Welcome to the show.
Just listening, trying to learn.
We're all doing that, Odie. That's not fair. We're all doing that. But anyway, welcome to the show. We are talking about the Electoral College. And I heard a senator, I'm trying to remember her name, that spoke about we ought to eliminate the Electoral College and let the populace vote elect the president and the vice president like it does all the other offices.
Well, if you do that and you change the system whereby you cut down the months of the primary to the general election, and you have the primary for all 50 states on one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 months from then, you have the general election. That makes a lot of sense, where instead of Iowa going first and having a caucus where you don't know if them folks going to get off their butts and go and vote, because they got to participate in the caucus.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about, because of what happened last year, 43 years ago, they want to do away with the caucus in Iowa and have a straight primary. So
wow.
just have all the primaries at the same damn time. Okay.
I'm gonna try
Now, check
I'm gonna
this
try to
out.
switch.
If you had the primaries all at the same time, that gives you, say, 3 to 4 months to crisscross across the country. Say the primary should be in June, cause the weather is much better in June. But
Okay.
they can campaign, say, from January to June.
Okay.
And then when June come,
Mm-hmm.
June 15th is
Uh-huh.
the primary for everybody.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Well,
that'd be for both parties. If we're going
so
to continue a two-party system,
hmm.
the
And
two-party
I
system is
mean,
not working.
what's the benefit of the two-party system? I mean, really, what's the benefit of the two-party system? Robert, what's the
Yes,
benefit of the two-party system?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know because personally, I'm in favor of more than two parties,
Mm-hmm.
such as in Great Britain. There is the Conservative Party, which is kind of like the Republican Party. Then there is the Labor Party, which is kind of like the Democratic Party. But there is also another party called the Liberal Democrats, and there's another party called I think it's called the Scottish National Party. So there are more. So there are more than two. I'd rather see that, to see a little bit more representation in government. The same thing in Israel. There are many political parties in Israel.
Well, don't we have
So,
the independent party here,
but not well,
Green Party or something?
not in Congress. Not
Oh,
Right.
not in
Right.
Congress. I mean, there are some elected officers, elected officials that do represent those parties. Now, there's no exception with Bernie Sanders, even though he went under the banner under the Democratic Party for running for president.
mm-hmm.
He's actually an independent socialist, so he did not run under the Democratic Party for his office.
Okay.
You know, so that's the only exception. But I would rather see more representation of other political parties
Mm-hmm.
in
And it,
Congress, just like in other countries.
and the only way you can get that is the two major parties have to be a little bit more lenient.
But it won't happen.
Right. Well, that's the problem you have here in Illinois, is because when you look at the voting book, the voters guide,
Mm-hmm.
the voters guide is set up where the independent candidate needs
Uh-huh.
more signatures on their petition than
Uh-huh.
the governor.
Then the governor?
And that's not right. Matter of fact, when I think about my office,
Mm-hmm.
I need 25 signatures to get on the ballot for my office.
Now, what office is that,
Uh,
Anthony?
I'm elected to the Proviso Township School Board, which is the treasurer's office, and our responsibility is fiduciary only, and we oversee $300 million of school funds.
Okay,
Now,
wait just a second. Let me welcome to the show, Sandra. How are you, Sandra?
Hi, Wanda. I'm good. How are you guys doing today?
all right.
We're
Hi, Sandra.
great.
Well,
Thank you for joining us. We're talking about the Electoral College, and Anthony is telling us the position that he holds at the school.
Now, I take the position because when Andrella ran for the county um, assessor's office,
Uh-huh.
and you're looking at the amount of signatures these folks have to get,
Mm-hmm.
it's designed to hamper a third party person, a third party candidate, and that's by design of both political parties here in Illinois.
So, wait a minute. So they strategically designed the political system so that there's only a two-party system. There can't be uh, they've excluded the capacity for us to have a 3-party system or a
Yeah,
4-party
because
system?
they make you jump through hoops, and they make you go out and get 50,000 signatures instead of 1,000.
Makes
Mm.
sense. Makes sense.
Okay,
Makes sense.
and that's how they block. The reason, when I listen to Robert, the reason you would need multi parties, because the more people that you have engaged into the system, the better the system becomes.
Why is
But when
that?
you, because the whole thing about a democracy is participation.
Okay. Okay.
And if we're steady stopping people from participating in the system, then that means only a few control the pie, control the wealth, and don't give a damn about the majority.
Well, isn't that the way this government is set up anyway? I mean,
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I mean, the wealthy, the 1% control everything else, everybody else.
Yes, that is so true. Because when you think about Citizen United, that was the worst law that the Supreme Court could have given us. Money,
What's the law?
money is not the Citizen United is where the Supreme Court Justice Alito said that money has a right to vote. Corporations have a right to vote by putting as much money into the political system as you can. Now,
So that
keep
makes
in mind,
it unfair then, because money, money has power.
well, that's why if you don't study history, if you don't study economics, and Adam Smith, he's a friend of mine. Adam Smith, back in 1776, he made it crystal clear
Dang.
that when you let money take over your political process, what we see happening in America right now, especially with Citizens United,
Mm-hmm.
the little guy don't stand a chance. Because you have to ask yourself, why would I spend billions of dollars to run for office that pay me $400,000?
Why would you?
Power,
Okay.
power.
So the office has the power. Sandra, what say you about the Electoral College? Should we have it or shouldn't we have it? And if we should have it, why?
I think the way it was designed to actually facilitate and ensure that the people's choice was elected and not selected. I think it had good intentions back then, but I can tell you it has changed completely from what it once was to what it is today. And we still don't know what role or how they're, I'm not going to say what role, we don't know how they are going to participate in this upcoming election. Most of us believe that they'll still do something that's a little bit shady and that's probably illegal. And again, it won't be contested because again, the individuals that again, some of the people in these areas who vote, they don't even know who the members of their state's electoral college is.
Right.
They don't know anything about it. When you try to educate them about it, they don't want to hear it. I hear your commentary, and I hear Anthony talking about a lot of different things. And then when we go out and when you try to speak this information or inform the masses, they really don't care.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear that. Many of them want the election process to be something simple. I don't know where they've gotten the idea that it's a simple process, but they want it to be kind of simplistic. Okay, we say if this is who we want to vote for, we're going to go out there and we're going to vote for that person, and our votes are going to determine who is sitting in these various seats. But like he just stated, many of the candidates that we are forced to select from, they have already been put there by some kind of jaded process.
That's so
where again,
true.
money does dominate.
Yes.
You
Yes,
can't
it
even
does.
run for a U.S. senator unless you have $1 million already and get the nod
Oh,
from the
really?
other political. Yes, and
Yeah, I didn't know
that's
that.
getting
You have to
for
have $1 million in your coffer before you can even run for that
Yes.
position.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Because
yes. And
because of
that's been in place
Citizens,
for a while.
yeah, because of Citizen United, they have really taken our elections to another plateau. And it's
Wow.
very dangerous. As I was talking about Adam Smith, he foresaw back in 1776
Mm-hmm.
that this was going to happen. And
Okay.
sure enough, it's happening.
Yeah.
The Koch brothers, take the Koch brothers.
Mm-hmm.
The Koch brothers are philanthropists. On one side of the ledger, there's some beautiful people because they take their billions and they give a lot of it away to different institutions that does research, good research. But then on the flip side of that equation, the Koch brothers are what we call libertarians.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hate anything, I hate a libertarian.
Why is
Why?
that?
The
Why is
reason I
that?
hate libertarians is because they don't really believe in government. Okay. But let a
They believe in
disaster,
the power of the dollar.
yes, they do. Also, they take the position if a tornado come through your neighborhood and wipe everything out,
Yeah.
the libertarian position is so what? You shouldn't have moved there. That's their attitude. Okay. And so I even with some of the conservatives, I have to say to them, look, I served 8 years as a village trustee. And if I learned anything by being a public servant, government do not run on air. It
On
costs
what?
on air.
Oh, okay.
It costs money to do your inlets, your outlets, resurfacing your street, redoing your sidewalks. And when it comes to your pipes in the ground, every 40, 50 years, that stuff have to be replaced.
Absolutely.
And as the years go by, every year concrete goes up, labor goes up. And the libertarian take the position, uh, if I ain't gotta spend it, I don't want to spend it.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, you know what? So we need to be very mindful of the strategies that have been used over the years by this government to put in office who they want, not who the people want, who
Well,
they
But
want.
wait, Wanda. I think in all fairness, we have to say, because I'm not going to play my age, but we have to say that each and every aspect of the political process is currently in place somewhere throughout this United States system. And I mean, and when I say in place somewhere, there are several of them in multiple offices in various states and sometimes even in various counties. So there's a balance. I don't think I'm not one to down one process for the other,
Okay.
because that's the whole thing about being diverse. I think he said something a little while ago about mixing up and having different people. You need to have different opinions.
Oh,
You need
yeah.
to have different lifestyles. You need to have different philosophies in place in order to serve the masses. Some people forget, they start thinking about their little small world of maybe 500, 600 friends, when that isn't even a number that we could use to represent anything
Right.
in any kind of county or anything. So your 500 friends, and I'm sure out of that 500 friends, you may have easily 180 that don't think like you at all, but there's some other meeting of the minds that brings you guys together and keeps you talking to one another. The political process is just that. No one side should be in control. No one philosophy should be in control.
I agree.
But see the danger. This is the danger of those folks who call themselves libertarians. Now, those are the same folks that if a tornado came into their neighborhood and damn near wiped them out, the first thing they're going to do is be on the phone calling FEMA.
Okay.
But yet, if a tornado come into your neighborhood and wipe you out, their procedure is, I don't want to help you. And that ain't right.
So be it, but so be it. That's why we have Congress. That's why we have Congress as a whole, to ensure that legislation is developed that services all, or at least attempt to service all.
Right, attempt.
Because laws are ever changing, and society's needs dictate that change. And that is why you don't have any one particular party or one particular ideology running the United States of America. I'm never going to put down any one of them and say that, you know what, you're totally useless, or, you know, you guys are always trying to make sure people don't get something. Yeah, that's what they do. But guess what? We come together as a group. We then see what the needs are, and then we discuss it. Yeah, it may take a while to get a bill in place, to get it ratified and get that law. But then again, we turn around and we give so much autonomy to the states from the federal standpoint that, again, I agree with you. When you start getting down to these townships, that's where the libertarians versus the conservatives actually hurts you, because, again, you're dealing with a much smaller group of people in contrast to what we have when we're talking about dealing with Congress and doing legislation that is the law of the land.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Anthony. When you're in one of these townships or one of these towns or cities or unincorporated areas, as they want to call them, you're right. You need to make sure that you have like-minded people in the decision-making position if that's going to be your political representation. But on a grander scale that we're going into now, I think you need all of it to ensure that everybody gets equal representation.
Everybody needs equal representation. You're right about that, but it's not always that way.
Right. Take Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, the majority leader. He said yesterday, I got 20 Republican senators who don't want to do one damn thing for the American people. That's what he said. He said, I got 20.
Don't want to do what?
Don't want to do not one damn thing for the 99%.
Wow. Okay.
See, the philosophy of the conservative was what? A balanced budget, keeping the debt under control. And what didn't happen? In the 4 years of 45, they threw all of their so-called principles when it comes to economics out the window.
Out the window.
Now, what really irks me was the first stimulus. The first stimulus came to $7 trillion. $7 trillion. Congress put forth 3. The Federal Reserve put forth $4 trillion.
They
That's
just printed
trillion.
that money. Yeah.
Now, if we had $7 trillion and we spend it wisely and right the first time around, we wouldn't need a second stimulus. If they would have did like Europe did, when we saw that this pandemic was getting so out of hand, people started losing their jobs, people started losing their health care. That's when Congress supposed to have stepped in and say, we're going to do like Europe. We're going to give you $30,000, $40,000 until we have this pandemic under control. They didn't do that. But the top 1% got their hands on some of that PPE money.
Mm.
And then you take no offense against Kanye West, but why are we giving you, as an example, why are we giving you $300,000 and you rich?
Look,
Then
hey,
there was this white actress. I think she got about $1 million. She's already rich. Why can't you use your own damn money?
how does what the government gave them relate to the Electoral College?
It doesn't.
In a sense, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But on the
Right, it
other,
doesn't.
but on the flip side of that equation, elections have consequences. And when you think about the Democrats versus the Republicans bring a bazooka to the fight, and the Democrats bring a damn feather to the fight.
I disagree. See, one of the things about having these kind of conversations, you can't bring your biases when we're trying to educate people. That is not true.
But I'm not biased. I'm not biased.
It shows. But one thing about it,
I'm
you
looking
have
at the
very
situation
strong
at hand.
representation on both sides. But you're talking about the stimulus package. That stimulus package was only because of businesses and the pandemic. That had nothing to do with the election. I mean, this last thing that he said the other week, when they were asking him why didn't he do a second stimulus before election, because again, people thought there was going to be a second one in August or September, and there wasn't. And he made the comment, I could do one right now. I can do a stimulus packet right now. But he has no intention of helping anymore.
Are you talking about Mitch? Are you talking about
number
Mitch
45.
or the president?
No, I'm talking about 45.
45.
So he wants to wait until he has secured the presidency for a second time before he does anything for the masses, because he has heard the same things that we've heard in the media and we're about in the polling of how people are against him and don't want him. And he refuses, because he's taking it personal. He refuses to do anything because he's not for the people anyway. And again, I don't blame him for his stupidity. I blame the Electoral College for putting this stupid button up there, because he is all about self. He is not for this country or its inhabitants.
That's true.
So he never was. And now for all the fools who say, oh, he understands, he relates, that's why I'm going, he knows what I'm going through. Again, they need to have some kind of psychological counseling. Somebody needs to get them on somebody's couch, because they clearly are delusional when it comes to their station in life. But on the real side, when we start talking about the Electoral College, that too is like what you said earlier. It's more like a friendship pact, political per se maneuver, closed doors things. And some of these people that sit on the Electoral College, you start trying to see them and look up, be like, who the heck is this?
Right.
And what do they do?
Yeah.
And where do they come from?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like they went and got them from under some kind of rock. And they set them there, and they're getting their little stipends and they have their authority, similar to what we do for our Democratic committeemen and Republican committeemen. They get their little bonuses and perks which pad their pockets, and then they do whatever is best for them and not the constituents that they say they serve for. Then the constituents, rather than do something and get involved, they start these bitch and moan sessions, and they become disenfranchised, and so then they do nothing. And then you're stuck with even a bigger mess, because I think it's kind of deplorable when you see only 43% of the people who were eligible to participate in the presidential election the last time actually participated. That is sad. That is sad. And it's been running that way for a while. And it's very, very unfortunate that people are not participating. And,
Right.
and I promise you, you will, if you go out and you canvass, you're going to find out it's people who are just as poor, and then you have your rich and affluent who do not participate. For one, they probably don't need it and don't want to, but nevertheless, they still are not using the process for whatever reason, and that just looks really bad.
Right.
Let me
But I
take
would
just a
think-
moment. Let me take just a moment, Sandra, cut you off to introduce Naima joined the show. Naima, welcome to the show. We're
Hey,
talking about
Naima.
the Electoral College. And Sandra, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can go back. I just want to let you all know that Naima had joined us.
But no, but I was pretty much finished with that, because like I'm saying, if you're gonna, first you got to come up with a real plan, and we can't come up with that plan. That's the other thing I think Anthony mentioned a little while ago too. We're not part of that process.
Right.
And even those who are part of that process have very little influence in who sits there and who doesn't. Because it's a you scratch my back, I scratch yours type thing. You get enough of that going on. It's just like what goes on the golf course. You get enough of somebody, I'm going to be with you, I'm going to do 18 holes with you, I'm going to do 10 with you, and they come up with how they're going to do it. And if you're not part of that conversation, of that group, you can't effect the change. And if you want to effect the change, again, if the group doesn't see what the change, or they agree with it, then the change still isn't going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Let me explain to the populace how we reach the 538 Electoral College. First, we have 435 members up in the lower house, the Congress, and we have 100 senators. That gives you 535.
Okay.
Then they have 3 delegates that come from Washington, D.C. They got 3. And that's how you come up with the 538 electorals.
So they are the Congress and the Senate. They are the electors.
They are the Electoral College as far as how you reach the number of 538.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But who are the electors?
That's a good question. That is.
I tried to look that up.
And let's see, some of them are appointed.
They're on the ballot.
Yep. Some of them are you vote for them, but you don't know who they are. And again, it's just like with the delegate situation. When you vote for a delegate to go to the convention, you would think that delegate would vote for the person that they ran up under that person's banner, like Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren. But when they get to the convention, hell, they can vote any way they want to if they want to.
That's ugly.
And that's the danger of the Electoral College, is because Joe Biden can win the popular vote. And Electoral College say, we're going to make 45 president again. That's the flaw to that system.
But no, it should not work that way, because that is not the way it was designed.
Oh, I agree with
like you said, for the delegations, when you're at the convention, and I've had the fortunate to be at at least two conventions, including the last one we had here in Chicago. But that is not the way it works, because when you get there, when you say this is our candidate and this is who we're backing, that's who you back.
Yep.
And then the populace, they keep using that word, the populace vote. Again, who did our constituents say they wanted to vote? What was the number? Who had the largest number? then your electoral college should be following that design. So
They should be, but they don't, right?
Yeah, that's the
they
problem.
didn't. I'm gonna put it this way: they didn't. They didn't, and that's what the third time that they have not done that. Since their existence, they didn't.
Wait a minute.
They didn't.
Naima said, what did you say, Naima?
I
I can't hear her.
I can't hear what she's saying.
You can't hear her? Okay.
No.
Hold on. She called in through she didn't call in. Okay, go ahead. Oh, okay. I don't see you asking to join. Do it again, Naima. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Whoever won the state won all the electoral votes of that state. Now you get the electoral votes according to the percentage that you won in that state. So if you won 40%, then you get 40% of the electoral votes, as opposed to you. If you
take all.
You got none. So that's what
Right.
the changing of those rules is what allowed Barack Obama to win when he ran in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
If those rules had not been changed, he may not have had enough electoral votes to win. So this is a point in history where we can see where at least there was some changes. I think the next step in changing it would be to actually eliminate the electoral college. Has been talked about. People think it can't happen, but everything can happen, because if the people say, this is not right, we need direct access to the presidency of the United States, not through some representatives. We want to vote as a population. Now that can and probably will happen, and I'm predicting that at this election, whoever wins, the other side is going to say that there was some cheating. There's going to be some kind of irregularity, and a lot of people are going to be feeling like they didn't get the candidate they voted for. That's what I predict to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Because Trump, if he loses, he's not going to give up easily.
But you know what? No, but you know what?
Will lead to the change that we need. Whatever conflict happens, that's going to precipitate the change that needs to happen with this electoral college. But it's going to be not pretty. I predict that.
Yeah, 45 got to go.
Since I don't know who's listening or who's going to hear this, I'm going to take the other stance. I'm going to take the glass half full position. I believe things will go as they should, and the people, whoever the people vote for, that person will be also selected by the Electoral College. They will back those numbers as they should, because it's so early in the process that the last thing that you guys want to do is actually discourage people from participating. And
no, we don't want to do that.
That's, you have to watch what you say, because right now with everything with COVID-19, with people losing their jobs, their benefits, many of them are about to be evicted. Many of them are having problems with their mortgages. The last thing that they need to hear is that vote, that one thing that's been keeping them going, and they couldn't wait until November gets here so they could get 45's ass out of office by hook or crook. The last thing that individuals like yourself that they will listen to needs to say that you don't think it's going to work, or it's not going. They don't need to hear that right now. We can have that conversation after the election. You can talk about what your suspicions were, but right now, I think one of the things we need to do is to continue to encourage them to show up like they did today. When they had to stand outside, and I thought it was really sad that seniors were standing outside for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, while they were trying to get the ballot machines to work.
Wow.
And that went on.
Where was that at, Sandra?
I was on the South Side. I was glad to see, though, that they stayed. Many of them stayed. You had a few who said, well, They just couldn't stand any longer. No, there wasn't anywhere for them to sit. No, they didn't have anything. No, they didn't have anywhere for them to sit. They did have a parking lot, but again, as you're standing in line, the last thing you want to do is to go back to your car and have to lose your place. I think one of the things they could have done, somebody could have got a sheet of paper and did some numbers and passed them out.
Right.
Passed out some numbers, did something real kind of quick and said, go to your car and we'll pull this number. That way your place in line would have been saved.
Right.
And we'll pull that number.
Some chairs and some coffee, because some people like take the bus.
Well, I don't know if they
try to go sit in.
Well, we don't have those kind of politicians in the city of Chicago anymore. But they don't worry about feeding the judges or the people that vote for them. But what they could have done was come up with something for those seniors. But they still voted. They still stayed. Many of them stayed. Others said they would pick out another day because they're determined to vote. Right. And the last thing you want to do is say anything or reference anything that might discourage them from participating in this process. Because right now they really need to vote. They need
we don't want to discourage anybody from participating in the voting process. That's very important. People died, so we had that right.
Yes.
So we have that right. So I would not encourage anybody to not vote. And that is not what I'm saying.
Let me say this, because we had a brother to call in to WVON and tell us, I have every right not to vote. That's sick. When you think about the people who lost their life,
right,
for us to get the right
to vote
in 1965, 1968, and then we still don't have the right to vote like anybody else, because what do they have to do? They got to renew the Voting Rights Act for us every 10, 25 years.
That's not true. Can I interject something here,
that
please?
is true.
Can I interject something here? Let me ask you a question, Anthony. Can you tell me exactly what was the Voting Rights Act?
The Voting Rights
and who it affected?
Well, it affected Black people. Okay,
where?
In the South and the North.
And the South, in all 50 states?
Yeah.
In all 50
Black
states?
folks was.
The Voting Rights Act only affected only certain states, not every state. The right to vote. If you look at the U.S. Constitution, we were given the right to vote like 1865 or 1866. There is a misguided notion that Blacks were given the right to vote in 1965, which is obviously not true, because Blacks voted in 1960, Blacks voted in 1956, and on back.
And Blacks was Republicans. We was Republicans before we jumped ship.
No. I'm talking about this misguided notion. I've seen it that Blacks, it doesn't matter what party.
Right.
Doesn't matter what party. Doesn't matter. There is this misguided notion that Blacks were given the right to vote because of the Voting Rights Act. That is not true. That's
what
all
is
I'm saying.
Explain to our viewers and listeners what the Voting Rights Act is.
That's why I wanted Anthony to explain.
But because when you saw the Freedom Riders going to the South to register our folks to vote down there, that was to give them the right to go and vote. Under
no restriction.
Under the protection of the law.
Exactly.
But then those same folks down in southern part of the United States said we need a litmus test, a penny tax, count jelly beans,
a poll tax
before you can vote. A poll tax. Now, you don't have to count a jelly bean today, but I can take you off the polls and deny you the right to vote today. Voter suppression. Or like I think the governor down there in Florida. Early voting. You can vote on Sundays. He said, we're gonna cut some of that out. If the notion is to get us all to participate in the democratic process, we should have voting on a Saturday, a Sunday, from 7 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, there's a country that if they don't get 95%, they vote over.
Really?
Yeah.
Which country is that?
Let me check, because I heard
But we have
that
to
on
have
the news.
enough poll watchers and we have to have enough poll workers for those days and hours, and that's the challenge that they have. I don't know if they put enough in the budget.
All these young people that's 17 and 18 that we can.
Well, hello. Hi. Let me answer the gentleman's question, please, Anthony.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you the states that were covered under the Voting Rights Act. It was Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Virginia. In addition, they named counties. So he's correct. And thank you very much. I don't know who that is that's talking.
Thank you very much for making,
That was Robert Oliver.
for making my point, because there is so much misinformation. See,
Yes,
I'm a journalist, and misinformation drives me crazy.
Robert,
me also. That's why I was like, wait a minute, because we just went through this a few years ago, because they were saying the same thing. I think I was still in Chicago when it came up. I had not gone to California yet, and they were talking about, oh, well, we won't be able to vote. I said, that is not for here. And I mean, they were running around here in Chicago. I was like, are you kidding me? And before you adopt something that doesn't even apply to you, go and do some research. This was not for you. You know, this is not
Case in point. Case in point. Someone told me that a Black woman actually thought that it was illegal for a Black person to vote Republican in the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Somebody told you that, you said?
No, somebody, it didn't tell me that personally. That's what I was told. A Black woman thought it was illegal for a Black person to vote Republican in the state of Illinois. See,
but you know, I'm gonna tell you,
there's too much misinformation going around.
And I'll go back to what I was saying to Anthony a little while ago. I believe it is the responsibility of these aldermen, those the presidents of these townships. I actually believe also it is the responsibility of these preachers, especially those with those mega churches, because no one over the age of 18 should have made that comment to you, because they should understand that you can choose who you want to vote for at any time. You can go Green Party, LaRouche. You can do anybody you want to if that's what you want to vote for, and that there is nothing that is illegal about it. But I think the sad thing that occurred, and the machine is not dead, but what happened when we got rid of those precinct captains and we got rid of those meetings where individuals come and we educate the individuals on the block, the individuals in the ward, the individuals in the district, they don't get an education like that. Yes, in some places, because I think Buffalo Grove had some kind of virtual meeting that had something to do with whatever politics, whatever they're doing up there. And I've seen another place, they had put theirs out. Someone sent me something in my email, and there's another election that's going on. I hope it's here in Illinois. But they, again, were having this virtual meeting where they were allowing the constituents and any interested parties, and that's what they said on the interested parties, to participate, to partake in it. As a group and as a people, I don't see us doing that here in Chicago. I really find where people are either, if they have the knowledge and they know the difference, they keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
They don't want to share it. And then on the other hand, if they have the knowledge, they take it and they use it as power to control folks.
Yeah,
And I think we need to get away from that.
Robert was just holding up a magazine that says accountable.
This is let me jump in here and do a plug. I'm not even getting paid for this, and he doesn't even know I'm doing this. This is Tavis Smiley's book. It's a great book. He uses a word that I have not heard used in the Black community until he wrote this book. It's called accountable. And you could look this up. Google accountable, Tavis Smiley, Amazon, whatever. But when he talks about, I know he has, there's a graphic of Barack Obama here, but he talks about accountability from the top on down.
Yes.
Whether it's the president of the United States, Congress, senators, congressmen, mayors, governors, aldermen, state representatives, state senators, everybody, community leaders, right down to us. Yeah. Because what I have seen, and I know what you all have seen, are people going to the polls. I hear you've heard this for years. I've heard it for years. I'm from Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago. I live in California now.
Okay.
But I've heard vote. That's what I've heard. Okay, election time comes, you vote, and then everything is forgotten. It's like, oh, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? Okay, you got these people elected, and then what? What's going on? Like, for instance,
nobody is holding anybody accountable.
Case in point. When Rahm Emanuel ran for mayor the first time, I was still living here. People, to me, I was thinking Rahm Emanuel, and I met that joker too up on the north side. But Rahm Emanuel had no history of interaction in the Black community on the south side or on the west side at all. But Black people were saying we got to vote for Rahm Emanuel. We got to vote for Rahm Emanuel. And it's like you all left Carol Moseley Braun in the dust. At least she knew the hood. She knew what was going on with Blacks. But no, they voted for Rahm Emanuel because he was Barack Obama. He was Barack Obama's homie. And then what happened? Then what happened? They complained.
Right.
And then
that was not the truth, though, right? They voted for him thinking that he was his homie, but like he showed, he did not even endorse them early on. So that was the crazy part of it. Had he been homies, he would have been endorsed. But the other thing is he paid for a lot of those votes. Because you weren't here, I was still here, but that was right before I left Chicago and went to California. He paid a lot of people. He paid, and that was one of the craziest times I had seen in the city of Chicago in a very long time. I remember the days when people voted, and after you voted, they gave you a hot dog and a beer, or you had a dinner, or you had a party to come and celebrate the win of whoever is winning for your area. But I can actually tell you, people were paid to vote. Paid.
People,
and that was one of the things
I think that's illegal.
I think they do it all the time.
Who cared that they did it? And again, like you said, no one really knew Rahm Emanuel. And even though I was working with someone, and I had to tell the person I was working with about Rahm Emanuel, which she still wound up going under him because she needed money. Yeah. The thing I told her then, anytime they redistrict you out of your area, because he used to be a U.S. representative, they got rid of him up on the north side.
That's why I met
him. I'm telling her, he is not a good guy. What he was, and he was not chums with Obama. President Obama. Yes. He was known for his organizing skills.
Yes.
He has the capability to help put your front office, your team together. He's good with doing that. He's good at that. That was it. He's never been anybody's leader. He doesn't have a good personality. He doesn't work well with others. That's why he
true.
didn't stay in D.C.
That's true. That's true.
That's why he did not stay in D.C. But you're absolutely right. The Black community, through a bunch of other people who deliberately misinformed the Black community about who this man was and what he stood for and what he was gonna do for the Black community, they went and they fell for it. They fell for the okie doke.
Yeah.
And again, many of them got $50, $25. I remember they got one candidate a couple of decades ago for giving out the Home Depot. Home Depot had these, I think it was $10 or $40 vouchers you could use, and that person gave it out during the campaign time, and they wanted to get her for that, saying that she was trying to buy a vote. But yet, this occurred, and it was a big hush. Because again, they
Ladies
caught
and
people,
gentlemen,
they
wow.
caught people at a time when they didn't have money, when again, they were not educated to processes. They don't understand how valuable their vote really is. They don't understand it, especially at a local level, and it's the local concentration that determines your county, which your county determines your state, which your state determines how you're looked at from a federal standpoint. But because they have not educated them to that and letting them know that your vote really does count and it really is important, they fell for it. Some of them got the money, didn't vote. Some of them got the money and voted for the wrong person.
Yeah.
And then when nothing happened, I mean, Chicago is as raggedy now than I've ever seen it. It wasn't this raggedy after John Daly died.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the streets are horrible.
Yeah.
The streets are horrible. Services are horrible. You don't even see white lines in the street. I have come back here and I just can't. I'm like, why is anybody complaining about this? This thing looks horrible.
Well, some
Absolutely
people was complaining, not a lot.
We got 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to close the show. We're going to have to come back and do a part 2 to this discussion because.
Well, I also want you to do a part when you start talking, and hopefully Robert and Anthony can attend, when we talk about the fact that we've had that FISA tax being deferred. That from being deferred from September to the end of December, and the ramifications it could be for the Social Security benefit.
Oh, well, yeah.
Let me say this, folks. Ronald Reagan and Adam Greenspan stole $2.5 trillion from Social Security and was never paid back. It was never paid back.
Did they go to jail for that?
They should have went to jail.
They gave it to the DOD and other 1%. Places, EPA. Yeah, they gave it to other things to support other causes. But now, with 45 deferring it, I don't even know why he's deferring it. I haven't even seen. Everybody's like, well, why is he doing this? And he's making it where federal employees, they have no choice. It's not coming out of their paycheck.
Wow.
Well,
that's significant when you look at things on a broad scale, and this is money that's not going into the kitty. And yet next year they plan on somewhere, I think it's about after the 14th or something in April, I got to remember what they're saying. They want to start on a plan where the tax that you're not taking out, you want these workers now to repay it. And they have some private sector folks that are doing this too. I just haven't finished getting the whole list of those because they didn't allow federal employees to opt out of it. Private sector, they could opt out. But so this is horrible.
That's our next discussion.
To all of the citizens who have not voted throughout the country, please go vote. I voted.
Yes.
Please go vote. And to our young people, go vote. And our friends, if you got friends and relatives in these other states where we can flip the Senate, tell your folks get off their butts and go vote.
Go vote.
Yeah.
Go vote. Yes, go vote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this a conclusion. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 6 o'clock right here on our Omnibus Roundtable TV show. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.